How's it going, everybody? So this is the new podcast called Sleepless in Cabarrick. And me and Lee have finally decided to put our heads together and create the podcast. So Lee, do you want to take them here and let people know exactly what it's all about, what we're going to be doing, what we have in store for the future of the podcast? Do you want to take them here?
Yeah, so the first episode are basically just going to explain kind of what we want to do, what our aims are with the podcast, and then maybe a little bit of our background and what we're doing with ourselves personally. So, firstly, kind of the aim of the podcast will be we both have kind of a big interest in mental health, and we've both gone through our own hassles and our own struggles, and we know people and we've helped others go through their struggles, and we know that like everybody is going through their struggles in all walks of life. So with the podcast, we're going to interview all sorts of people. So like our aim, our one kind of combining theme will be the kind of mental aspect, or having the mental health aspect. And we will obviously have some fun along the way, and we'll learn different things about different maybe sports or health and fitness, or it could be just a mental health thing, or it could be a business kind of business related talk, because it's also something that we're interested in. But we'll always try to tie it back somehow to the kind of mental health side of things. So maybe, for example, we were talking to a couple of footballers that we know, and we have a couple of footballers who will be coming on as guests soon. And most people might want to just ask them, like, oh, what was this goal like? What was it like scoring that goal? Where we would probably want to ask, like, what was it like for a 16-year-old to be moving away from your parents, moving away from your family, and over to England and living in a certain city, and then you're sent out on loan to a different city, and you're a young lad trying to get around. And did you feel anxious during that period? Or I know in particular one guy I've spoke to had suffered with depression because he went over and had nobody to talk to. He's not around his friends, he's not around his family. The lads that are from England can go home to their own families at the end of the day, where he was kind of left on his own a lot. So no matter what we talk about or who we talk to, we will be able to tie the kind of mental side in, because I think the whole world thinks that when we're suffering, we think we're the only ones that are suffering. We see people that maybe play sport or play football or run a business or do whatever, and we just look at them on Instagram. We go, "Oh my god, that guy is massively successful. He's doing this, he's doing that. It's all great," but we don't see the stresses or the anxieties, or the fear that goes along with these things. So it'd be kind of just interesting to get that out there, so when people know they're going through a hard time, they're not the only ones that are going through that hard time. Like, so I think that will be the main overriding theme of everything that we do.
Yeah, spot on, Lee. And that's the thing. Like, I'd love to ask. Though, I've always wondered about that. Like, let's say there's so many people out there who went to England. This is just footballers now. It's probably some girls and other people not interested in football now probably looking at this and saying like that's going to be a football, who gives a shit. No, but I was always we're going to have so many topics to talk about, and I'll be definitely talking about my own struggles with 10 years of anxiety disorder and panic attacks and stuff like that. So we're going to get into a lot of that.
Yeah,
I'm
I
sure
think
there'll be a lot of people interested in that side of it, huh?
for now, we could probably give your kind of view of where you are and what you're doing now. So we'll let you introduce yourself first. So if we start from not giving every single detail, but let's say where you were at to where you are now. So you're living in Paris now. You're home in Dublin for a couple of weeks, but in general, you're living in Paris the last 6 months. Kind of explain to people how you were in the past, where you didn't even want to leave your house to go to the gym, let's say, to being able to go over and live in Paris and enjoy your life there and be relaxed and be comfortable in that environment.
Mm. So yeah, really, I'll share my story first, and that's the reason why we want to make this podcast very orientated around mental health. Me and Lee have our own specific stories, and Lee will share his. But mine one is more about I actually had a 10-year battle with acute anxiety disorder, agoraphobia, and panic attacks for 10 years. At one stage in my life, I was almost afraid to just go down the road and go to the gym because in fear of panic attacks. My whole life just became orientated around anxiety and panic, and it was just awful. Like I couldn't, at my worst, I couldn't get on buses, couldn't get on trains, couldn't go into the city centre. Just a fear of panic, and this had a huge effect on my life. And now I'm living in Paris, Currently making this from Dublin now as I'm home for a little bit. But yeah, I've been living in Paris for the last 6 months. I've been going back and forth since 2019. And I've actually set up my own business over there called From Panic to Paris, just to like show how far I've come in regards to recovering from the very acute anxiety disorder that I had. It was really awful, like, and as I get into it, like, I'll share way more stuff, like, but that's just the gist of it. Came from being unable to go like 2 kilometers from home to then being able to get on a plane and go to live in a different country. And I'll be explaining what I've done to overcome it, the best tools, the best methods. And I know there's so many people out there who are struggling with anxiety disorders, depression, panic attacks and stuff like that. And I guess me and Lee will shine some light on that, and I'll give my own expertise, my own story, and my own knowledge of how to get out of that. And yeah, that's where I'm at now, guys. I've totally overcome that disorder, and I've rewired my brain basically. And I'll be getting into the great detail of how I've done that. And yeah, everything's going to be brought back to, no matter what topic we're on, in 90% is going to be brought back to the mental health side of things. It's a big focus for me and Lee. And yeah,
Hey, Glenn, my screen is gone. Can you still see me?
yeah, I can see it.
I can still hear you, and I can hear whatever's going on. But
Not saying that again. Well, maybe it was a reason for it to go like that, because
well, I can still hear you, so I assume it's still recording. I just don't know where the fuck my screen has gone.
doesn't matter, man. I can still see you perfectly, like.
Wait.
Now, do you want to do a little intro on yourself?
Yeah, I'm just trying to find where I'm at first. Well, I have a little icon saying that that I'm in a video, but I can't see where the video is. There we go. I'm back. It's still recording, thank God. So that's all good. Yeah. So I kind of zoned out there because I was trying to find where my screen was.
I
Did
finished my intro anyway.
you finish off exactly where you were? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So then from my end, it's basically what you've doing. You're over in Paris and everything that's going on. From my end, I'm still doing what I have been doing for the last 10 years. I've been coaching in D5 Fitness in Kilbarrack. Maybe if I was to go through the mental things that I went through, was probably more before that. Yeah, but kind of before I became a coach. So I'd say when I was around 19, I think I started coaching at 21. When I was around 19, I had a kind of a stomach problem. It was like fucking high stomach acid, basically. Really, the acid becomes basically too much, and it wasn't allowing me to nearly absorb food. I couldn't eat food for that period when I first got it. I think I ate one slice of toast a day, or two slices of toast a day, sorry, for like 4 to 6 weeks. That was all I could eat. I couldn't eat anything. Every morning you get up, you feel like shit. I don't really like feeling sick in general. I like to be, able to go out and do my thing and do whatever. So when you wake up every single day, you feel sick all day, every day. There's no going to break from it. If you have a little sickness here or there, you have like an infection and it lasts 3 days or a week, you kind of know there's always going to be an end to it. Where this, I didn't see the end. I didn't know where this was going to end. It was just constant. 6 weeks only being able to eat two slices of toast a day, losing weight, not feeling good. And then just became really anxious about my health then in that period. The worst thing you can ever possibly do, which I did back then, was to start Googling things. So you Google like, what's wrong with me here, or why do I feel anxious about this? And then it tells you that you have an anxiety disorder. And then that kind of fucking adds to the problem. Then you're like, all right, there's something wrong with my stomach here, and now I have anxiety. Like, I thought like anxiety was like a disease that you once you caught it or you were born with it, you couldn't get rid of it. Like, you know what I mean? So the stomach problem was a problem, and now I thought I had this kind of disease that I couldn't get rid of. There was something wrong with my brain, or there was something, I was born with something. Instead of just thinking of anxiety as just a period of kind of like heightened fear. Do you know what I mean? So in a period where my health was bad, I was in a period of heightened fear, which is a pretty normal thing to experience. But in my head, thought it was just me. It was just this thing that was never going to go away. And I was going to have to deal with it for the rest of my life. I didn't want to go and do things. I would feel like, let's say I was sick, I had no energy, you might feel like weak or faint. And then I would be afraid to, like, let's say, go out with my mates. Like at 19, I wasn't really coaching or doing anything. It's just kind of like, a normal 19-year-old lad hanging around with my mates during the summer and all and whatever. And just didn't want to go out and do those things. So I'd feel like, well, if I'm out with my mates, we try to play football, and I get weak and dizzy spells because I'm not eating, and I collapse, or fucking, we have to call an ambulance. It's all this big ordeal. Like, so there was a lot of kind of anxiety related to those things. So I just stopped doing things. And then this is probably why I got into the health and fitness thing, because to solve this problem, I became obsessed with, I went through the phase of the fear of it and Googling the wrong things, and then started to research the right things, figure out how to actually fix this, what's going on here. Looked into a lot of, basically, I've got a high stomach acid problem here. How do I solve that, or what is the opposite to that? And figured out that you need to alkaline the body, or you need to eat more alkaline foods, and exercise, and these kind of things will help it. So instead of the odd time I did, at the time, obviously had gone to doctors, and doctors have given me tablets and shit here and there, and the tablets just made me feel worse. Where when I discovered this and actually Googled it and figured things out myself and researched stuff, I figured out that if I just actually ate more alkaline foods, it would reduce the acid, exercise, feel better, and over time, kind of grew to or got rid of the problem myself, literally through eating better or eating differently to what I had been eating, was able to get rid of the stomach problem. And then when you get rid of the stomach problem, you start to feel better again. The anxiety starts to go away, and you realize that you're not actually insane, or you're not born with this anxiety disease or disorder. It's just something that was heightened in a period where I was unwell. And still to this day, probably, if I'm unwell in a certain way, like if I got dizzy right now, I'd probably be a bit heightened, where some people probably wouldn't. You know what I mean? Like with health related things, I think kind of hit harder on me. I'd be reacting a little bit harder than someone else would. You know what I mean? If you were walking down the road right now and you felt a little bit dizzy, you could probably just stop and move on and be fine. I'd probably be a little bit like, whoa, what the fuck was that, or where did that happen? Like, do you know what I mean? But
Totally, yeah.
it managed to get over that period, and then that studying that and researching why these things were happening in my body led me to go and do sports science in Clontarf. It was only like a level 6 kind of course thing. And when I was basically, because I wanted to know about the body, did that related to the body, going there and that. Obviously, always had an interest in kind of health and fitness in terms of a football side of thing, and training people, and coached football teams for like 5 years and played football my whole life. Then in that period, we ended up doing a course within exercise and fitness. Me and Sean, one of the lads, did a course, and we started doing our own classes in like 2000, I'd say late 2011 maybe. We started doing our own little classes, a couple of classes here and there down the place in Donamead. Within 6 months, the offer came up for the gym that we're in now, just to rent a space and do some classes there. Went and we did that for 6 months, and then the offer came up to take over the whole room that we were in. Took over that. Then the offer came up a year later to take over the whole gym, so we took over that, and we just kept going from kind of there to there. Kind of went through different phases of training. Like a lot back then, we do TRX classes. That was kind of the popular thing, but we always knew that it was never going to be forever. So we were trying to buy weights out of any money that we had. So we'd go do a month. Let's say we never kept any of the money back then. We both worked other jobs too, so we'd do our month, we'd pay our rent, whatever money we had left over, we buy weights or machines or whatever we could buy, and just try to turn the place into a gym over time. And that's where we've gone to. We went from 20 TRXs on a fucking pole to having squat racks and dumbbells and everything that we need to train people properly in all aspects of kind of fitness and strength and conditioning. So that has nearly fallen into something, you know what I mean? I never really knew it was something that I wanted to do. Probably would have seen myself more. I always knew that I'd never work like in an office sort of thing. I always knew that I wanted to work in something where I was around people, get to talk to people all day and train people. Probably thought in my head when I was 18, 19, probably thought along the lines of coaching or working in the FAI or something like that related to football. But one thing led to another. You fall into this and you fall into that, and you just take chances and take opportunities. And here we are 10 years later, being able to run a gym successfully for 10 years. So I wouldn't look back with any regrets in that aspect. I really love doing what I do every day. I don't think I'd be able to do anything else. I'd literally go insane if I had to sit in an office or sit at home working or whatever kind of people do. I think I'm made.
That pain my eyes to see you doing that.
Yeah, I think I'm made to just be around people. I like helping people. I like helping other people feel good. I know that I have felt bad in the past, and I know how exercise and health and fitness helped me. So I know people feel bad today. You still got people walking in the door today that are maybe in the position I was 10 years ago, or the position you were 10 years ago. And we all help each other. You come into our gym, it's a positive environment. People can get to talking to you, they can get to talking to me, get talking to other coaches or other clients there, and understand that the experience that they're going through or the negative outlook they have on their life or their body or whatever is going on in their life, everyone else has been through, or one of us has been through, and one of us can offer some help on, and we all just help each other. It's a positive environment. It's fucking just somewhere that I love to be. I love to be around.
Remember I rang you, what was it? I rang you many years ago. I never was even in a gym before. I told you about I'm struggling at the moment. And you said just come down to the gym.
I probably
That
had
was it then.
spoke to you in 10 years when we were playing football against each other and on maybe 5.
Yeah,
Say you live in a different area, you grow apart, you're not seeing each other. And one day you just rang
exactly.
and you were like, I'm going through this anxiety shit. And I was like, I went through that, man. This is what helped
I
me.
couldn't believe you went through when you
Yeah.
almost like you had like health anxiety, worrying about your health, and I had that at times. I thought I was gonna have a heart attack and a stroke and a seizure and shit like that.
And I
And it was
remember just talking to
it
you
was
and I was
just
like,
great. Like,
you think you rang me and we ended up on the phone for like an hour and a half. I was like,
yeah,
fighting through everything. I was like, man, this is what helped me. Like, these are things that helped motivate me. This is what I looked into. This is how I felt. Just get into the gym. And you came down. We had a chat again for like another hour in the gym just to get used to that environment. I was like, come down. Even if you don't train, just come down. Let's have a chat. You came down. I remember we sat upstairs in the boxing room at the time and we had a chat for like an hour just to get you used to the environment. And then you came back and just kept going and fucking look where it's gone today. Like, how long ago was that? Probably 6 years ago, 7 years ago?
longer than that.
6, 7? Nah.
Well, I had that for 10 years, and I'm recovered 3 years. So my journey started at 13 years ago, and I say I rang you probably 4 years into that. So when I was around
9
24,
years ago, buddy. 9 years ago.
around that, yeah. I don't know. You think about it when you look back. I
Fucking
remember that day I called you and all, man.
same
Probably
here.
remember word for word.
Yeah, same here.
There was actually a previous time I actually I used obviously drove past in the car and they'd always say hello. But
Yeah.
there was a time I wanted a TRX off you and you dropped it down. Do you remember that?
I remember that. Yeah, yeah. That
Yeah,
was
and then I rang you like 3 years
that was
after.
the thing. That was before we even had the gym. Actually, yeah. My mate was selling them, and I bought a couple off him. And I used to train people down in the park in Donamead. A couple of friends would bring one or two down at a time, and we do TRX in the park in Donamead, and then you'd get told to fuck off by the fucking the little park warden dude and all. So that's how we ended up getting the other place down in Donamead. We were like, ah, fuck this. Can't be going down to the park and getting told to fuck off while you're in the middle of a session. So we were started renting a room and then just went from there. Like, I think we've nearly given enough of our background in this one. We want to keep this one short. I don't want to go on. Don't want to go on too much. Just basically get out there what our aim is and what we're doing and what our background is. And a lot of people actually ask me of the whole reason of the sleepless in Kilbarrack thing. And I put it up today. I was going to just say it in this, but I put it up today that the whole thing behind it was basically that we understand that people have had sleepless nights because of whether it's depression, stress, anxiety, any mental kind of issues going on in their head at that moment. We've all had sleepless nights. So
100%.
I think maybe people didn't get it or they didn't know why we took that kind of sleepless in Kilbarrack thing. But I think when they listen to this and they understand what we've been through and what we're going to direct things at, they'll probably start to understand the name a little bit better, you know.
I thought you took it from your favourite film.
Well, that did play a part in it. Yeah. I suggest that everyone should watch the film before they watch our podcast. We just leave it there then, yeah. Leave it there for now.
You're going to edit all this, are you?
No, I'm just going to leave it run the way it is.
Mate, fuck it. Let's do it.
There's nothing there. Like, I just think obviously there was a fuck up there and my camera went missing in the middle of it, but there's no point taking it out. I'm not going to edit a
No.
whole video for 2 seconds. Let it roll. Let it roll is what I say. No matter what happens, we'll just let it roll.
Be
Nothing,
authentic as we can.
nothing's going to be perfect, especially not in episode 1. Maybe someday we'll be rich enough to hire an editing guy and he can do it, but I'm not wasting my time on that stuff.
What do you mean, maybe?
Oh, definitely. But we know
Definitely.
whether we decide to invest the money in an editor deal, I don't know.
Or you decide to invest.
So yeah, we'll leave it there. Hopefully everyone tunes in or everyone actually listens to us for this long to kind of learn our background and learn why we're trying to do what we're doing and understand that we're trying to do this for positive reasons, and no matter what we do, we're going to try and help people and educate people, inspire and motivate people. That's all we're here to do.
I think a big one is to normalize struggle, to normalize
Yeah,
people's struggle.
yeah, definitely.
Everyone has issues. Like,
Especially
don't ever
now,
be afraid that like you're the only one.
I think there's never been a better time to do that either, because I think the whole COVID thing, lockdowns, fucking people broke up during lockdowns, family members passed away from COVID and from other things. People have been through probably the hardest year and a half of their lives. So right now, to normalize struggle and to normalize having negative emotions and allowing them to come in, this is probably the best time that there ever has been to do it, because people need it right now. So
Absolutely.
that's what we're going to do, and that's what we're going to continue to put out there. So we hope everyone enjoys the first episode, and we'll keep you posted on the next one is coming up.
Looking forward to it. Can't wait.
Hopefully nobody is sleepless in Killark.
No, we're all wide awake.
Peace out.